Mission Impossible 2 was a very thought-provoking movie.
Oh no. Where is this going?
What?
In that, I mean that it caused me to think that instead of watching Mission Impossible 2, I could have simply surrendered my $9 to the people down at the theater, gone down to the local hardware store, purchased a screwdriver,
I thought a hammer.
stabbed myself in the eyeball a few dozen times, and still would have the larger portion of 2 hours unwasted with the same experience gained.
Oh no.
He should have bought the hammer, not the screwdriver.
He's like basically one movie too early for that.
On a scale of pathetic to excellent, I give this movie a lame.
What? Where is that? How does it even work? What kind of spectrum is that?
I don't know. That was a 1-star review from IMDb. Hello and welcome to Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. I'm Ryan, joined as always by Andrew.
Greetings.
And Steven.
Salutations.
And this is part 2 of our Mission Rewatchable series in which we're talking about, you guessed it, Mission Impossible 2.
Yep.
Be weird if we jumped around.
This is part 2 of the rewatchable
We're talking
series.
about Fallout today.
Talking about number 5.
Straight to Fallout. We just do 6 episodes of Fallout over and over again.
This is a Fallout podcast now that includes the video game.
Exactly. Everything Fallout. We're changing brand. All right, so we're talking about Mission Impossible 2 today.
Yeah.
Quick note up front, we're going full spoilers from the start.
Yep.
Yes.
The format's a little different on these. These are similar to our 007 doubleheaders, if you listen to those.
Except for they're single headers.
Single headers?
Single headers,
Not
yeah.
really
We're
a
just doing
thing.
one movie, but we're not going to break it down by our normal metrics. We're just going to go in spoilers from the front, roundtable discussion.
Spoilers akimbo.
Spoilers akimbo on the back of a motorcycle. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Let's start with a plot summary of Mission Impossible 2. Are you ready?
No.
Guns.
Chimera is a deadly virus that will bear a grisly death. Wait, what? Okay.
Is that even a sentence?
It's the way it's written is not correct, but I'm going to read it. Chimera is a deadly virus that will bear a grisly death unless you are given the antidote. The creator of Chimera is murdered, and the antidote is stolen by a disavowed IMF agent, Sean Ambrose. The Impossible Mission Force hire the skilled and charming Ethan Hunt. Had to throw that in there.
What? Wait, but he works for them already.
And the beautiful Nia Hall, who has had her share with Ambrose. This is a very bad description, but I'm going to power through it. Their mission, should they choose to accept it, is to send Hall undercover to Ambrose and learn what she can for Hunt to bring down Chimera. But they will have to break into a secure lab by jumping off of buildings and dodging bullets. It's impossible.
What? That's like the worst. That's like by far one of the worst synopsis I've ever heard.
I got that one off IMDb because the one on Google Play or whatever was like the second movie in the Mission Impossible series, and then there was like the one on Amazon was like equally like one sentence. It was like Ethan Hunt's at it again.
I really wish they had just been like guns, and doves, but actually pigeons. Because what?
Oh, because what? So many pigeons.
There's so many pigeons. What the heck?
This movie was released in the height of pigeon mating season in May 24th of 2000.
That's in the southern hemisphere,
is that true?
right?
No.
I don't know if we're trivia.
It was released on May 24th, 2000. I am not an ornithologist. I have no idea when the height of pigeon mating season is. I assume it's year-round.
How else do you get that many
There are so many of them.
Steven, give us the bird facts.
Okay, I'm going to look it up.
Wow, actually. Okay. Directed by John Woo of, Hong Kong action movie fame, Hard Boiled, The Killer, and he did Face Off before this, an American movie with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta.
Wait, hold on. I got you.
We're backing up. Okay.
All right, here. You ready for this?
I'm braced.
Peak breeding season is between March and July.
Nice. Oh. So it was.
Wait, hold on.
May 24th.
Hold on. It gets better.
Uh-huh.
But feral pigeons can breed all year round.
Yeah, they can, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Couldn't have set that up better if we tried.
I'm going to use that pickup line on my wife. Girl, I'm like a feral pigeon. What's that even mean? Don't question it.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know. You shouldn't laugh at it. Don't support these kind of ideas that I have. It was written by Ronald D. Moore and Brandon Braga. You guys may know those names because they wrote a lot of Star Trek stuff, like Deep Space Nine and a bunch of the movies.
Okay.
And Battlestar Galactica.
Which one? Be more specific.
The sci-fi 2000 remake. Yeah. Music by Hans Zimmer.
Whoa!
Really?
Did you realize this while watching the movie? Because I didn't.
No, this is the least Hans Zimmer.
This is early Hans Zimmer.
I looked it up and I was like, "What?"
Did you get that from a second source? You double checked that one?
I didn't. This is IMDb. I trust in the servers that they got running over there, unless somebody hacked them. According to this, Hans Zimmer did the music, and I was like, "Really?" All right.
I mean, those pigeon scenes got a womp.
Whoa. Yeah.
They sure did. It's because it was breeding season.
Yeah. Again, I know Hans Zimmer does not sound like Werner Herzog, but in my head he does. He's like, the pigeons and their wings made noises like whoa, and I have an idea for a film score I will use later. Show me the baby. All right, this movie stars.
You're gonna kill Andrew.
It's okay. He'll
my jaw hurts.
revive him in a minute. This movie stars Tom Cruise, obviously, with his Magnolia era hair, I would call it.
Long hair.
Vanilla Sky hair.
Yeah, Vanilla Sky era hair. There you go.
Yeah. Mission Impossible 2 is definitely credited to Hans Zimmer. Wow.
Yes, I worked on the film.
That's so weird.
Thandie Newton is in this movie.
Which we have discussed in previous epissodes.
Yes.
That did come up, yes.
It did come up because Andrew doesn't know who that is.
Well, I do now.
He does now. Doug Ray Scott, the most aggressively Scottish man.
Boy, is he ever Scottish.
When I saw this in theaters back in the day, there was a Scottish dude there, like full kilt and everything, and he turned to me and goes, "What did he say?" I'm just kidding.
Sean
None of that
Connery's
happened.
watching at home, and he's like, I hate this man. Why?
It's all a fabrication.
Because he's also Scottish.
Ving Rhames is in it for like 27 seconds. Really good 27 seconds, but like he's really good in it. Budget. I'm just listing out the people that were in it.
This is Luther?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's there just to say, the computer's not ready yet. Give me more time.
Yeah.
That's basically all he says.
Pretty much.
Budget of $125 million, box office of 215 domestic and 546 worldwide.
They made their money back.
They definitely made their money.
The highest grossing movie of the year 2000.
That's crazy.
What the heck?
That puts it in perspective where we're at nowadays.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
What am I holding on to?
Year 2000 films. And you keep going, but I'm going to look this.
Okay.
You hold on to two.
This was according to Box Office Mojo, so check your facts, okay?
I mean, I'm just looking. You keep going.
Okay. Yeah. Do we want to get into some trivia, or you want to jump into what we thought about the movie?
I want to know
trivia. I want to hear
some
facts.
trivia.
This is a Pigeon Facts.
Let me hit you
podcast now.
All right. Hey guys, welcome to Pigeon Facts, a podcast within a podcast.
Wait, okay, yeah. Hold on. I want to interrupt you right there.
Okay.
Mission Impossible 2.
You do that a lot.
Yeah, I do. It's what I do. Mission Impossible 2 out-earned Gladiator.
Yeah.
Wow.
It out-earned Castaway.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could definitely see that.
I could definitely see that because it's an action movie, and I think it probably has the most international appeal of those three movies.
And
also,
just like Castaway and Gladiator in the same year.
Objectively better movies.
It out-earned X-Men, the first X-Men movie as well.
That's actually pretty impressive.
Like when you were like, it's the highest grossing in the year 2000. I was like, whoa.
I actually think the first I think. Honestly, I liked all three.
The first three were
X-Men.
quite solid.
I mean, the last stand is not great.
Yeah.
But I thought they were all fine. The first one was definitely good.
Yeah, it definitely was like I don't think they understood what
they had.
All right, guys, welcome to X Podcast, a podcast within the Pigeon Podcast, within the Spoilers Intended podcast. All right, let's get back to the Mission Impossible 2. Here's some trivia. John Woo was concerned about competing with Brian De Palma's style, but Tom Cruise was very adamant that he wanted Woo's style for this movie, as he loved Woo's films. Cruise's goal was to have each movie basically be a different episode and have a different style with a different director, and this made Woo feel way more relaxed when they started production. Let's see here. The famous rock climbing sequence was filmed at Dead Horse Point in Utah.
Which is a really cool sequence.
Yeah, it is. It is a really good opening.
It is.
Minus some
silliness.
Messenger.
What is
rocket?
it? The tossing the sunglass CG. I could go without that. Whatever. Tom Cruise.
That hit, and I was like, woo.
Yeah. Tom Cruise was on cables, which were then digitally removed.
They wouldn't let him do his own stuff yet.
Not all the way.
Yeah.
So that's one of the trivia bits next. The climbing double and the overhang stunt was performed by the main stunt double, Keith Campbell. And director John Woo was reportedly scared each time that Tom insisted on doing stuff.
I would be too, man.
I mean, he is your top bill star.
Yeah.
And even like now, like in 2000, like he was like the movie star.
Well, and again, John Woo comes from Hong Kong action cinema where like everyone does their own stunts. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
like
Tom Cruise, like that's what I want.
I know. And John Woo comes over here and doing this American movie. He's like, you don't understand. Like I'm talking to the insurance people. I am terrified. Get off the set. So Tom Cruise and John Woo clashed over some of the stunts as Woo wanted stunt doubles and Cruise was adamant about doing them. He told Woo he didn't like cheating, quote unquote, and that it's too easy to spot when the actor is being doubled because of the body movement, the timing, etc. It didn't help that
Cruise.
Woo was also afraid of heights, and so he was. He extremely admired Cruise's courage to do like some of the rock climbing stuff. So speaking on that same fact, Tom Cruise lied to the movie insurance agents, saying that he would be letting the stunt crew handle all the major action sequences, when in reality he did approximately like 95% of the stunts.
Yeah, good job, Tom Cruise.
That's a typical Cruise move right there.
And this is, again, before he was known for doing his own stunts, so I feel like back here he could have got away with that. Now, probably.
Well, this is also one of those things, too, where like this is clearly just Tom Cruise's personality kind of coming through here, where he, you know, he's been known to say on set is like, you know, if you have a stunt coordinator that's not going to let you do something, get a new stunt coordinator.
Yeah.
So the safety guy said, we can't do that. So I got another safety guy.
Yeah.
I got a guy that worked at the local fair says it's fine. No problem. So Doug Ray Scott, who played Ambrose, was going to play Wolverine in X-Men.
Oh, weird.
Yeah,
now,
right?
When filming went over schedule for this movie, and he was injured in a motorbike accident.
Go figure.
He was forced to drop out and was replaced by Hugh Jackman.
That's probably a good thing for Hugh Jackman.
Also, because of the production overrunning significantly, Thandie Newton was forced to drop out of Charlie's Angels.
Now, they did her a favor there, I think.
Probably a favor.
Yeah.
But like, I just thought it was interesting that this one movie went over production schedule and changed the career paths of two people potentially. You know what I mean? Like,
So I was looking at some trivia as well.
Yeah.
So Woo's first cut of this movie was 3.5 hours long.
that was the next point I was going to say.
Yeah. Once again, I got to cut Ryan off.
Jump in. You say it.
I just did it.
Oh, there's more. So Paramount Pictures balked at this length and told him that the final length could not exceed 2 hours. This would explain
longer than Titanic.
Yeah. So this would explain why there's a lot of plot holes and continuity errors in the theatrical cut. The movie initially also was rated R, but was re-rated PG-13 after many of the action scenes were cut and the violence was trimmed down considerably.
Sad.
Which I'll bring up later when I start talking about other John Woo movies like I watched last night.
You would.
John Woo, this is the final one I had, found himself locked out of the editing room by Tom Cruise, who took ownership of the final cut.
Oh, wow.
So it sounds like this production was kind of wild. Yeah. It's like Tom Cruise really wanted John Woo to do John Woo. John Woo came in and did John Woo, and the studio said, no, there's way too much violence, way too much blood, and this movie's too long. And then Cruise had to chop down what they had to oversee the chop down to what it is now.
So supposedly because of Cruise's negotiations in his contracts, he made a percentage on profits, royalties, merchandising. Supposedly he made $75 million for this movie.
I mean, that's a good chunk of the movie.
That is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. That's Top Gun Maverick budget right there.
For a subpar.
He just pocketed it and saved it, and that's how he greenlit Maverick years later.
You know, he invested it in it's 3% a year, then he's ready. You know?
Buried it in his backyard.
Probably.
This is the year I do Maverick. Give me the shovel.
It's like a John Wick scene, except he's out in the backyard with a shovel.
And it's like there's Scientology signs all over the shovel, and he's just like, it's great. All right, so overall thoughts, Andrew. What did you think about Mission Impossible 2?
Okay, so I remember seeing this film obviously many years ago. And I remember walking out of this film and being like, what did I just watch?
Really?
Because it was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then I watched it again with my wife, you know, probably like a number of years later, but about a decade ago, pretty much for now.
Yeah.
And again, I was like, I mean, it was fine. I watched it again for the podcast, and I actually liked it more.
Oh, really?
I liked it more than what I did the first time. I'm not going to say it gets better on rewatches. I think I've just become more accepting of just how ridiculous this film is.
You're meeting it on its own terms now.
I think that's what it is. Like, I've come to terms with, like, this is not the Mission Impossible films that I like, which are some of the later ones.
Right.
And I don't really like the first one that much. This one is kind of like a trying to be like the bridge between the two kind of styles.
Yeah.
And
interesting. See, I would say this is so. The first one is kind of like the
spy thriller,
the tame style. Then we have John Woo style,
and then they dial it back.
Future Mission Impossible fits somewhere in the middle of those two. Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit more realistic, and but I think some of the action scenes at the end are a little bit more endearing. Now that I've watched them a couple times, of of how absurd they are.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it is absolutely a product of its time.
It is unapologetic.
For sure. Yeah. It is. I'll give it the 2000s.
Yeah, it really is, of just how over the top it is. And
soundtrack had that Metallica song and that the Limp Bizkit version.
The Metallica song is so terrible. It's so bad.
That was, to me, as a Metallica fan, that was the what do you call it? the arc where like, oh, it's all downhill from here, isn't it?
Well, okay,
the thrash metal of the 80s is really dead now, huh?
So I actually have a bit of trivia for that.
Oh.
So that Metallica song was what caused basically them to sue Napster and Napster to go under.
Yeah.
Because essentially...
It was so downloaded.
It was so downloaded and everything
I'm pretty sure I was one of those people who's like, well, I want to know what this is.
I'm fairly certain I am.
Because basically it was released before...
the movie came out.
Before the movie came out, which, Metallica was very upset about this.
Yeah.
And they went after fans, they went after Napster, like all sorts of stuff. It was a whole hubbub.
Speaking of that, it's been 23 years, right? Like, we're past statute of limitations, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I hope so.
We're on record. Police are going to meet us at our house. What? No.
Oh,
yeah.
Steven, what are your overall thoughts on the movie?
This thing is wild. So I did not see it in theaters. The first time I saw it, and the only time I've seen it until watching it for this review, was back in high school. I may have been just out of high school. I think it was still in high school, and it was just like, for some reason, my mom like stopped by, I don't know, Blockbuster or whatever. And was just like, I'm gonna rent a movie, and I'll rent something for like, her and
a college
my dad,
kid,
and I'll rent something for Steven, and he's got some friends over, so I'll just throw Mission Impossible, why not? So like me and a couple of friends watched it. I think we all just watched the screen. We were just like, what is going on? Because I had not seen Face Off at the time.
Yeah.
I wasn't super familiar with John Woo. So it was just one of these things where it's like, cool, now we're in the subterranean tunnel, and the subterranean tunnel is full of pigeons.
Yeah.
Why? So they can flap, and Hans Zimmer can make the whoop, whoop, whoop noise to go with them.
I mean, that's a really cool looking scene.
Okay. It is a cool looking scene. If you look at that scene and say this is grounded in reality,
no,
it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. If you watch this movie from the sense of rule of cool is the only thing that matters here.
That is John Woo's rule.
Rule of Woo.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you look at it from that perspective, this movie still doesn't do a great job just because like some of the stuff is just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there are some good little bits in there. It's just really convoluted of a plot that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I actually didn't think the plot was that convoluted. And I will say at the start, right, the kind of your open of the initial, like what kicks everything off.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done.
It was.
And that was really cool. And, obviously Christopher Nolan looked at that and was jealous of it and was like, third Batman comes around, I'm doing this. I'm doing it one up.
Yeah, but then we can't hear any of the dialogue, so he did one better. Yeah.
I'll teach him how to do it. Ruin the dialogue, just ruin it.
What about you, Ryan?
I am so torn on this movie because I do have fun watching it. So I did see Mission Impossible 2 in theater, and I had seen Face Off back in the day when it came out, and I was a huge Face Off fan.
Yeah,
and I remember trying to find John Woo movies in the 90s.
It's very
after
hard.
Face Off came out, and that you just can't, especially back then.
Now you can, but
now you can, yeah. And so I remember after Mission Impossible 2 being able to find at Suncoast in the mall.
Good old Suncoast.
I got Hard Boiled and The Killer. And there was one more that I've seen. I can't remember the name of it now. It was like from '86. But anyways, I went on the John Woo adventure afterwards. So but coming into Mission Impossible 2, I was a fan of Face Off, and I was like, okay, let's see what happens. And it was fine. Like I knew going in it's a John Woo movie.
Yeah.
So like that part of it, the over the topness of it didn't really surprise me. It just didn't feel right in the Mission Impossible universe.
Yeah, like if you take this and you take the Mission Impossible name off of it, and you just turned it into like a normal action flick, like I'll say like anything with like Jason Statham or whatever.
Global catastrophe.
Like
whatever.
Then it feels a little bit more in place. But in the Mission Impossible universe, especially coming off of the first one, going into this is major sticker shock.
It's a crazy
about some whiplash going from like super like toned down spy movie. Tom Cruise doesn't even shoot a gun for the entire movie. To what if I like dive across the floor, 2 pistols? I'm gonna be on a motorbike, popping a front wheelie. What is it even called? A tail whip. A tail whip.
Yeah.
While I like whip out an Uzi. Like what?
Yeah. So like my problem too with it is that like, and you guys will appreciate this, it feels to me now, watching it now, after having watched older John Woo movies and recently rewatching them, right? This is what it feels like when Jackie Chan made American movies.
It does.
It has the same feel of like, there's something about the Hong Kong John Woo movies that are just better.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of the same stuff that for some reason in this movie comes across as cheesy. Just doesn't in those. And like, so there's a filmmaking technique that a lot of Hong Kong directors used in the 90s and 2000s with the slow motion that's like really stuttery. Like they just take normal speed footage and slow it down.
There's a lot of slow-mo in this movie.
Right. But it's a mixture of like stuff that was shot for slow-mo and is super smooth and stuff that's like stuttery and choppy on purpose.
Yeah.
And like if you look at like the movie that The Departed is based off of, Infernal Affairs, that one came out. And it's The Departed is basically a 1-for-1 remake of that movie. If you didn't know that,
I didn't know that.
Interesting. Learn something new every day.
But it has a lot of like real extreme melodrama. A lot of like hanging on people's faces and stuff. A lot of that choppy slow mo.
Yeah.
A lot of Wong Kar-wai movies from like the 90s, like In the Mood for Love, and all of his like romance stuff. They have that like it's the same style of cinematography that he does a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
But for some reason, seeing American actors
do it,
say the lines, and look at each other in the same way during the extreme slow-mo, and like it just feels weird. And I don't know, it makes me worried because like when we reviewed RRR, we were talking like, oh man, I hope Hollywood learned some lessons from this. And now I'm like, man, I don't know. Like,
they learned the wrong lessons.
They tried to do it again here, and it just doesn't work for some reason.
I think just because whenever you're going into like an American-made film,
Yeah.
you feel that it has to be, just because we are Americans, it feels like it has to be like kind of realistic or based in some level of reality.
Well, I do
maybe,
think
I don't know.
Maybe
like,
so the problem really here is, again, the Mission Impossible franchise doesn't lend itself to this. If you wanted to just go, like Transporter or the Expendables, like they've gotten away with it in American cinema.
Yeah.
It's just they set the expectation from the go of the franchise that it's going to be dumb.
Well, again, with this
or however
movie,
you want to view that.
It feels like it's not John Woo at his best because he's being held back by the PG-13 rating. Because like when you watch his Hong Kong stuff, it's definitely R-rated, if not more, just because of the amount of people that get shot, the amount of blood everywhere, the amount of like, and so he still has the cinematography and the kinetic action that he has.
But he's kind of watered down because he has to hold back a little bit. And that's definitely what it feels like with Jackie Chan films that he did in the U.S. It's like, I mean, like, I love The First Rush Hour. It's a great film.
Yeah.
But it's not
Super Cop. It's not Police Story.
It doesn't have that visceral kind of feeling. And that's definitely what it feels like kind of with this film, is that John Woo, it definitely feels a lot more watered down to be acceptable for whatever rating they were trying to hit or whatever.
Yeah, well, and again, like in that trivia where they said it was 3 hours and was like R-rated.
3.5 hours.
And they had to like cut it down. So I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that got left on the cutting room floor that was just like too violent, And, I'm not here to say that like the John Woo Hong Kong movies are like just the best thing ever. It's just like when I rewatched 2 of them last night before we recorded this, just because I wanted to have like a fresh perspective. Because I was like, after watching Mission Impossible 2, I was like, man, what if all John Woo is like this and I'm just misremembering?
Yeah.
No, it's not. But it was like,
so also now, and we keep going to Hong Kong films, right?
Yeah.
So Face Off exists,
Yeah.
right? But I feel like having Nicolas Cage and
John Travolta.
Thank you. I just blanked. I was like, Travolta. Yeah, John Travolta in there works because like the two of them are going to play with that kind of style, that kind of over the top.
Like
100%.
Right. Yeah. Whereas
Cruise is very serious.
He is. He's very, very almost dour in a lot of ways.
Well, in a lot of John Woo's movies, it deals between two main male characters who are on the opposite side of something.
Yeah.
It's I'm the assassin, I'm the cop, or I'm an undercover cop and I'm this, like whatever. But it's always two male leads that are like entangled in some way.
The duality of man.
And you get to know their backstories, of both of them, the duality. So with this one, even like in Face Off, you get to know both characters like their spouses, their kids, and that's John Woo's whole thing. Now he didn't write this movie, so maybe that's like part of the
that's part of the issue. Yeah,
but like it feels like they were trying to go for it with Tom Cruise and Doug Ray Scott. What's his character's name again? Ambrose.
Sean Ambrose.
Yeah, but like we don't really know anything about Ambrose except for that he's evil.
Yeah, like he's just a bad guy.
He's a disavowed IMF agent who knows a lot about Cruise because they've impersonate each other on missions or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, that little voice changer that goes on the throat is doing God's work on Ambrose. He's trying to talk in this thing's like, put 2 strips on him. I don't know. We're going to need more processing power to tie in to cover this guy's accent up. So yeah, I enjoy this movie as it is by itself. It's almost like an outlier, so much to the point that I almost wouldn't rewatch it on like a Mission Impossible rewatch.
It's just, you just don't need it.
You don't really need it. But by itself, I don't think it's terrible. Well, like I do enjoy it, and the action is over the top. But to me, it feels very much, just to finish that thought, of like a Jackie Chan American movie. It's still fun, but it's not quite as visceral and good as his Hong Kong stuff. Go ahead.
So if you actually take this film out and you just end with the first one and then you skip over to Mission Impossible 3, it actually follows a pretty decent storyline in the sense because like at the beginning of the third one, he's married and still kind of like playing undercover kind of thing, but it's clearly been a large passage of time,
right? Which it throws you because you go from 2 where it's like, well, he's got this love interest, who's like their connection is like as tenuous as can be. Hey, we're both hot and we happen to be in the same room as each other. It's basically
got him
the amount of their chemistry. Or
girl, is there a lot of pigeons in this room?
Oh man, hear that thump thump thump?
Oh no! Oh no! But anyway,
so again, like going from 1 to 2 is like whiplash. Going from 2 to 3 is again whiplash. Because you feel like, oh well, we kind of know where this story ended in 2, and then 3 just starts. It's like, so forget everything you know. Record scratch. You might be wondering how I got here.
But if you skip 2 and you just go 1 to 3, it actually makes a lot more sense.
Better,
because 2 is so out there compared to the rest of the movies.
Yeah,
it's interesting from a production standpoint of like, it seems like Tom Cruise fought really hard to get John Woo. He really wanted that to be like the direction that the movie went in, and it was wildly successful.
And then they just
it makes you wonder like what happened behind the scenes for them to shift so hard back on MI3. You know what I mean?
I think it's probably just critical reception, honestly, just because it was so, 1, vastly different than the first one, and then 2, it was so over the top that it didn't feel like it was supposed to be in that franchise.
Well, Mission Impossible 3 released
2005
after the couch jumping incident, right?
Maybe right before.
I feel pretty confident that that like harmed
on
3.
Oprah.
In terms of like box office. So I wonder if there were some life changes for Tom Cruise because he was obviously excited about other things.
Right.
Going on.
Could have been
during that production. I don't know. I'm pure speculation here.
Well, and I know I think every director that has directed a Mission Impossible has been asked to come back. Like Brian De Palma was asked to come back for 2, but he said no. Yeah. John Woo's the only one they haven't asked to come back.
Aw, poor John.
I hate that for him, but at the same time, like I don't think he was the right fit for a Mission Impossible movie. Again, if you had like made this a Jason Statham movie,
or like a generic action movie, which is honestly very much Jason Statham.
Yeah,
it
could have been elevated by John Woo.
I will stand by that. I don't like Jason Statham as an actor or any of his action.
He's just himself and everything.
Like Mission Impossible 2. If Mission Impossible 2 was just rebranded and like you had different people in this, right, to make it work as Fast and the Furious 4, would we question it? No, we wouldn't question it at all.
Not at all. Yeah.
We're like, I don't understand. Why is this car not in space already? Come on, guys, let's get going.
I think another thing.
We're getting to that point.
This movie.
I know.
Yeah, we are actually.
I know.
Another thing this movie runs up against with the John Woo factor too is I think that in his better movies, I'll say his older stuff, he didn't use a lot of CG at all because we weren't there yet.
And this has always been my biggest sticking point with movies around this time period that come out, and I'll say late 90s to mid 2000s is just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
And everyone at the time was super excited about
they were
CGI.
so ready to do CGI.
And just don't do it, guys.
There was a lot of shots that I'm like, I just don't know that John Woo, coming from a very practical effects background, like knows what he's doing in a CG world. And it was the year 2000. Not many people did know what they were doing.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. What is your favorite scene from this film?
Singular scene.
Yeah, just like it doesn't like it could, just anything. I'll tell you mine as you think.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I love the bit after he's kind of like fighting in the pigeon hall. And we don't know that basically he swapped bodies.
Oh yeah,
or
that
basically
is good.
swapped faces.
That's a good play. Although he just had that in his back pocket, like ready to whip it out.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. But so guys like laying on the ground. He looks like Tom Cruise, and then you're just like, oh, what's going to happen here? Tom Cruise isn't saying anything. Obviously, if you've seen the movie, that it's not him. And then the dude kills him, and then he rips off the mask, and then the slow mo like. No,
Gosh.
And then Tom Cruise is like, let's rip it out, guys.
Please.
I think one of my favorite scenes is when he's in the lab, and that whole it's not as good as the rappelling scene from the first Mission Impossible, obviously, but the multiple angles of Luther's out in the van dealing with the bomb that's getting put on the van. And they can't be in contact for 8 minutes, so they can't warn him what's happening. Dude is bringing, what's her name? The character name, Thandie Newton, Nia Hall, bringing Nia up into the thing. And the Australian guy's just flying the chopper out here. And then
doing circles, doing donuts.
The whole gunfight that ensues in there, that then
it's a good scene.
Culminates with her injecting herself, and then that very like music kicks in
on the arms of
like, what? Hans Zimmer's like, get Sarah McLachlan on the phone. That was getting close to John Malkovich. Anyways, I think that little. The whole beginning to end of that sequence is probably one of my favorites.
I do like whenever he's going through like the shutters or whatever. Like that's a pretty cool sequence. Again, it doesn't top the going into like the secure room, of course.
No. Well, and it was very much so one of those like, remember the wire stunt? You liked the wire stunt.
We're doing it even better.
We're gonna do it with a different kind of time limit, an actual timer. What? Not a dude, puking and whatever in the bathroom?
Nope, not this time. What about you, Steven? What's one of your favorite scenes?
Oh man, I really like the face swap play.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is
just because I think that's a good call. Honestly, I think for me, and all of my favorite scenes are just because they're so over the top and cheesy, is the pigeon hall, and then like Tom Cruise and Doug Ray Scott, like make eye contact or whatever, and then like they just slow-mo cruise going down. What is going on in this movie?
Yeah.
But my honorable mention is every time that they were like, all right, establishing shot. What do Americans know about Australia? Here's the opera house. Here's the bridge. Okay, cool. Next establishing shot. What do Americans know about Australia? Here's the opera house. And here's the bridge. Everything takes place within like a quarter mile of those two landmarks, because otherwise we wouldn't know where they are, except for that one time that they went further out. And it was like, guys, we need to remind people this is Australia. Have some kangaroos run around.
How many? How many can you get?
How many can we get?
Okay.
What's left on the budget?
Okay, so next question.
Yeah.
What is the most ridiculous scene out of the film?
Oh, I already took this one. I already did this one.
So mine is literally at the finale, at the end, and Tom Cruise is like, dude has a gun pointed at his back. He's on the ground, and Tom
kicks
Cruise
the sand,
kicks the sand, and the gun, like the shot is the gun is like perfect
going
all the
straight
way up, like going straight up. He picks it,
just snatches it. Yeah,
like you don't think this guy would have he's an IMF agent. He wouldn't have enough reaction time to like.
He shot you like four times.
Yeah. Right. Easy. There's a shot in I think it's Hard Boiled where it's very similar, but it's on a table and he kicks the table and it comes up. So it makes more sense that like the fulcrum and lever of a table would like throw it up than just kicking sand would be like boom, straight up right into your hand.
Perfect.
I mean, I would think the most ridiculous scene would be somewhere right before that on the motorcycles, like when they jump off of each motorcycle and just collide in midair and don't just die immediately.
They redo that in one of the Fast and Furious films.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I said this could be in the Fast and Furious franchise because that scene.
It definitely could.
So that scene is mine because we get proven not like 3 minutes later after they did a motorcycle joust into leap at each other tackle that they both had guns with ammo because they find 2 guns with ammo on the beach to shoot at each other. You could have just like revved, like if the villain revs his motorcycle and Tom Cruise is like, yeah, okay, cool, pop, problem solved. Go get the girl.
Game
Move
over.
on with life.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here?
If someone challenges you to a motorcycle joust, you have to accept.
Honorable joust.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no way you're backing down from that.
So I got my other ridiculous bit here when it happened in the movie because I did not remember this. It's just like, wait, is his boss Anthony Hopkins for this?
Oh yeah, what a pull
for this movie. So I got some trivia about that. Right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Originally, that part was offered to Sir Ian McKellen.
Oh wow.
Okay, but he couldn't do it because of X-Men.
No,
he was busy because of Lord of the Rings.
No.
Wrong. Both of us are idiots, Andrew.
You're wrong. He couldn't accept it because of theater engagements in London. Like he was in the theater.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like the theater.
The theater.
He was in a production of Rent or something like that.
I don't know. but so he couldn't do this because he was, actively, being a thespian, right?
I'm playing Oliver Twist.
The thing is, if he had accepted it, the overruns may have prevented him from playing both Gandalf and Magneto.
Oh, wow.
This movie was an inflection point in the universe.
Imagine the world in which Ian McKellen can't play Gandalf in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, man.
And then they turn back to Sean Connery and offer him more money to play the thing he doesn't understand. And Gandalf is just Sean Connery.
Wow.
Right? What a world we would have lived in.
Wow. It's a hobbit.
It's not a hobbit. It's a halfling.
I can't do a Sean Connery thing,
but give it a shot.
No.
Go ahead.
Fool of a took.
Play in this space with us, Andrew. Play in this space.
I can't go that far. I'm sorry.
Do us a favor and throw yourself in.
Okay, now, Steven, I need less from you, more from Andrew. That's what I need right now. A lot of mouth noises over here. All right, so let's go through some of the actors real quick. So Tom Cruise, how did you feel as Ethan Hunt in this movie compared to the first one?
He didn't really feel like he was playing Ethan Hunt.
Just because
he just felt like he's playing Tom Cruise.
He felt like he was playing Tom Cruise, and I think like this is definitely like kind of like peak Tom Cruise before he kind of valleyed down in the mid 2000s. And I think this was kind of like the beginning of that downward turn. Mm-hmm. And then obviously, we're having a big Tom Cruise resurgence now.
Yeah.
Where he's kind of like top.
Yeah.
And
what did James Cameron say that like he single-handedly rescued cinema or whatever?
He probably did.
I
think James Cameron sometimes though like sees reporters coming and he's like, I'm about to say something that is nuts.
You better have
I'm going to just lose my mind on this microphone. I cannot wait for this.
But yeah, I think this is kind of like right at like where he kind of starts kind of valleying out.
Yeah.
In his career.
This is on. I won't say.
I say this. Then we had Minority Report. Like
I was gonna say Minority Report's like 2 years later.
It's
and
like, oh man, it's so good.
That's like low point of his career.
Magnolia was pretty good in too.
So I will say, I feel like performance-wise, it's fine. I think this is the weakest Ethan Hunt we get.
It is for
because
sure.
like the first one, we get good backstory. We understand his role in the team and what the tragedy is involved in that, etc. This one, he's just a dude out climbing rocks and hears a message in sunglasses and rock on, party hard, dude.
And all we know about his character in this one is that he really finds Nia Hall attractive. That's about it. That's like we don't really get any exploration of anything else other than just
back you up on that. Can you fault him? Can you blame him?
No, absolutely not. But I'm saying like we don't get any other development of anything. His relationship with IMF.
Yeah.
His like former relationship with Sean Ambrose.
Right.
None of that.
Yeah.
It's just what did you think of Sean Ambrose when you worked with him? We had our differences. End of plot line.
Well, because so like, if you look back in a different franchise, 4 years earlier to this, you have GoldenEye, which has one of the best back and forth with two, a disenfranchised agent and the new agent on the block. And you have such a good rapport with them and good backstory and everything.
There's great friction.
Yeah,
right?
And you have that kind of like back and forth in which we just didn't get that with this film.
I feel like with Thandie Newton's character too, with Naya, what I wanted more was like a deep pull here. Fujiko from Lupin the Third, like a vibe of like
deep pull. That's not a deep pull.
Well,
with
for some people,
for some people, yes.
For some people, it's a deep pull. If you know, you know. Get in here, Lupin the Third.
Lupin.
So like for me, I wanted her to be like double crossing both of them the whole way through.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, she makes off with like Bellerophon and Chimera and some money and a motorcycle full of guns. I don't know.
Yeah. Just the
drives
money.
away in a Fiat.
Just gets away with the money.
Yeah, it would have just been to me. It would have been a better dynamic than her just being like, I'm a
Love
reluctant,
interest.
and then
And they're just being a love interest.
That
was such a 2000s thing.
This was
kind of a still now.
Yeah,
thing.
2000s.
It is.
In the 2000s, everyone was a love interest. Nowadays, everyone is dead inside. What?
Yeah. But like Thandie Newton, I've seen her in a lot of stuff since, but I think this was probably the first thing I saw her in. Mm-hmm. And like I think her performance is good for what she's given.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't do a bad job. It's just like her character and her motivations are just kind of like, what? So y'all like, it was almost like James Bond. Like they slept together and now she's just like down to clown for the IMF. I'll take on
super James Bond.
all the risk. I'll go undercover for like, I guess they'll drop some charges. It felt kind of weird.
I did like their initial interaction in the bathtub where
that was good.
Yeah, I thought that was a good scene. There's a lot of good little bits in this
also
film.
him like tripping secure like that play back and forth is great.
Yeah.
I wanted more of that the whole way through.
Yeah.
That would have been great to have.
Like, pretty much after that, it was just like, all right, you're love interest now. And then that was it.
It shifted quick on that relationship.
She's in Chronicles of Riddick. I knew she looked familiar.
She is in Chronicles.
Yeah. I'm just scrolling through her filmography here. Trying to place where I've seen her.
I saw her in at the Sidewalk Film Fest in this most recent movie she did. It was like a revenge thriller type movie. She did really good. The movie itself was like, okay. But she was like really good. Ving Rhames. Always does great. I love Luther.
Always fun.
He's just such a core part of the Mission Impossible franchise at this point.
Oh yeah.
Just because like he has such good charisma on screen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and him and Ethan have a good like relation, like the dynamic.
Banter. Yeah. Good banter. Yeah.
So like my biggest complaint is there's not enough Luther in this movie.
Well, and I think that they kind of learned that lesson in a good way that, it's like, hey, we need to probably make him a little bit more of an integral part because we need to have a team again. Yeah. Where this one didn't really have a team. It was just kind of a solo one-man army.
You get
they brought
Luther and the Australian guy. What?
And the Australian guy felt like half-hearted of like, we need a team.
Yeah.
But we don't have as big of a team for reasons. And then like the Australian guy was like, what, what's it? Shaun of the Dead.
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
His character kind of would become like the comic relief or whatever. But in this movie, it's like underdeveloped. And like the biggest scene he really gets is at the racetrack when he tries to stop the guy.
That's a pretty fun scene. And I will say also Richard Roxburgh as a Hugh.
Second-hand
villain, right-hand man.
Right-hand man to Ambrose. So what did you think of Doug Ray Scott as Ambrose?
I thought he was fine. He just felt really generic to me.
Very Scottish.
He was very oppressively Scottish.
Yeah.
I feel like my problem with him as a villain is he was extremely one note.
Yeah.
He was just really,
like you already, like there was never any time where like you'd see any kind of like nuance from like his choices that he makes. It's just like whatever the most evil possible thing that I can do now,
I'm going to do
that's what I'm going to do.
No,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I did like the bits that they played with him and Nia Hall.
Yeah.
I felt like that was pretty good, where you could kind of feel the tension of both of them are like, "Why are you here?"
Yeah,
or she's trying to figure out, what, like, how dangerous is this really, kind of thing.
Very dangerous, turns out.
Especially the play with the memory card.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, when he's like, "Get it out of my jacket." The right pocket. And you're like, oh,
he knew the whole time.
Yeah.
Well.
But yeah, again, comparing it to GoldenEye, right? Mm. I feel like Trevelyan, 006 had more, at least a little bit more of like, I understand why he's doing this kind of type thing. Where he just felt purely evil and opportunistic. Yeah. Like there wasn't ever really like a development that made me go, oh wow, I see why Sean Ambrose would do this.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, got anything else you want to talk about with Mission Impossible 2 before we move on to 3?
I don't think so.
Oh, so hold on now. Hold on.
Wow.
We touched on Hans Zimmer and the score, and the shockingness of this is Hans Zimmer,
right?
I actually really enjoyed the music. Mm-hmm. I thought they did a good job with
You just said you enjoyed Metallica.
No.
Well, they didn't play it during the.
I know they did.
I opened this and said Hans Zimmer, and you jumped to Metallica. We're gonna dial this down from the 3 and go back up to the 9.
Rewind this a little bit. And Stephen was like, "I like the music in this film."
Hold on.
I'm gonna edit that for the teaser. It's just gonna be Metallica's song from this playing underneath it. When they're in Seville, the flamenco, and kind of the use of that early, kind of to punctuate the play between her. Ethan Hunt and Nia Hall. Mm-hmm. And then that shows up later a lot, and we get kind of a little bit of that Spanish guitar play going in there. And then again, once she makes kind of the emotional, the moral choice to inject herself, and then the bigger moral choice to not be in the center of town when her clock goes off and she infects everyone. She goes to the cliff. She's going to jump off. And it's very
emotional.
It's trying to tug at your I feel like they made a good attempt for it. It's just the plot around it was kind of like, what's going on, guys?
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I mean, like, I'll definitely say the music was pretty solid for what it was.
Boom! Play the Metallica song right there.
I'll just do it in my mouth. Okay, so if you're recommending someone to watch the Mission Impossible series and they've never seen it, are you telling them just straight out skip the second one, or do you give them like an asterisk and like 8 caveats that they need to know?
I would prime them. Mm-hmm. So I actually do have a friend that hasn't seen any of the Mission Impossible films before. Wow. His name's Brad. He's listening to this episode right now.
No, hold on. He's not a friend. He's a patron.
Well, he's already listened to this.
Thanks for your support.
He's already, by this point, he's already seen this film.
Oh, so
we're playing with the whole when is it recorded?
We couldn't warn you ahead of time, Brad.
Yeah. But so I have by the time we were recording this, I have explained to him because he hasn't seen it yet. I was like, the first one's pretty subdued. The second one is wild.
Yeah.
But wild in like a very early 2000s kind of wild.
Yeah.
And then after that, it becomes more like a normal action movie franchise.
It kind of falls into a groove.
It has a formula at that point.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those things where it's like, I wouldn't say skip it completely, even though we were talking about earlier, if you did skip it, it wouldn't really miss anything.
Right.
But I feel that like to have a good context of like just the franchise in general, it's not a bad, you still want to watch it, right?
Well, so I have a coworker, and I'm pretty sure...
You do have a coworker.
I have several.
He has a job, therefore he has coworkers.
But one in particular, I think watched the first 2 and quit.
Well, that's the problem.
Not surprising, yeah.
They were like, I don't know about this. And then, but that same person loves the Fast and the Furious, so I may have to revisit that and be
because that's the thing.
What pushed you off if it was the second?
It was Ethan Hunt's hair. He prefers bald.
Oh.
Well, but with like, honestly, I definitely think that the first Mission and 2 Possible Mission.
Pictured Tom Cruise bald really quick, and it sent me on a place. Go ahead, Andrew.
But the first 2 Mission Impossible films, I don't think are the best in the franchise.
Definitely not.
And I think they get better as they go on.
Yeah.
And just because like Tom Cruise has progressively gotten more control over this franchise.
Well, and also
I think that means a lot, because whenever you have these people that are truly passionate about something that they that they love, and they can actually like be creatively involved with it, it makes a really big difference.
Yeah. And like I always hold a special place in my heart for the first 2 because I have the nostalgia of seeing them in theaters and being there and like being like basically witnessing the birth of a new action franchise, and being like, so I do have some nostalgia for them. So like, if I were going to recommend this to someone, I wouldn't tell them to skip the second one, but I would give a lot of caveats about like, this is not where the rest of the series does not continue down this path. Because if you saw the first one and then the second one and thought that's just like,
yeah,
it's going to keep going. Yeah, no, it steers back on the third one.
Yeah.
See, my caveats would be, so for most of these films, watch it at home with a couple of friends tops. You need to be able to pay attention to what's going on. Maybe, enjoy yourself, have a little popcorn, a little drink, whatever. But you need to pay attention because there's going to be crisscrosses, and so you're not going to know what's going on. But when you watch the second one, invite everyone over. Crank that sucker up, pop all the popcorn, drink the beer. It does not matter. Just you're here to riff on this and be like, what's going on? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it could be really fun that way. It's just, again, for the actual plot, it's just not relevant to the franchise at all.
No, and again, I don't think they had grand designs at this stage when they were making the second one. Because again, at this point, apparently he was trying to think of each one as like its own standalone story.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I don't think they had the design in mind to have like a story that was told.
Yeah, continuing kind of thing.
All right, guys, let's talk about our Patreon.
All right. So your mission, should you choose to accept it.
Oh, boy.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
You can
give us $1.
You can give us $1.
It's very dangerous.
What do you get if you give us $1? So we have some great stuff available on our Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
And one, if you give us $1, you get access to all of our bonus content that happens at least once a month, guaranteed. And that's everything that we've already come out with prior and anything future, obviously, if you choose to continue supporting. However, we also have audio commentaries that you can basically watch along. So like kind of Mystery Science Theater
3,000.
3,000, yeah.
You press play on the commentary in the movie. Yep. We sync it up. You do it at the same time, and then you can listen to us just like we're watching the movie with you.
Yeah, so we have like Phantom Menace from Star Wars, Attack of the Clones, those kind of things.
Mission Impossible 2 would be great here.
Yeah, it really would be.
We might
We should probably put it on the list,
to go with this.
What about you, Stephen? What do you got?
Oh, well, I am here to talk about spoilersintendedpodcast.com.
What?
That's a good American website right there.
Yeah. Protecting freedoms with prior episodes.
It's also an international website.
It is
We're very cultured. Yes.
You can access
it anywhere.
But yeah, you can go there and check out all of our prior content, including great other episodes, stuff where we talk about like 1917, which is, again, something not like Mission Impossible 2, a cinematography masterpiece.
Basically the same film. I don't know what you're talking about.
You can check out us talk about, if you like the avatars, we got the blue people, not the others, just the blue people. We got those.
We're not airbending. We're painting themselves blue.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of our other content out there you can listen to if you enjoyed here. We also have links to things like the Patreon, as well as Discord. If you want to come hang out with us, chat about whatever. We got channels on hobbies. We talk about, what kind of music we're listening to, all kinds of stuff, not necessarily episode related, sometimes episode related. Or, if there's an ongoing show, we'll talk about, the various episodes and those kinds of things.
Yeah. And if you're not following us on social media, you got to. We have a Facebook and an Instagram. End of list. But
a very exhaustive list here.
One of these
they're very
days
exclusive platforms. You may not have heard of them. But yeah, we have a Facebook and an Instagram. We have a lot of fun over there. And also, every week we post what we're going to be reviewing, the following week, tell you where you can stream it or watch it, or if it's in theaters or whatever, because we would love for you to be able to watch the movies before you listen to the episodes, watch along with us. Yep. And I think that's about all the time we got, guys.
Yep.
Until next time, I'm Ryan.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Steven.
And every spoiler was intended.